Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I have an astrology update for you guys. It's a little bit of retrograde craziness. Are you ready? Let's just jump right into it. Funny story. It actually took me 4 or 5 days to prepare for this video because I got stuck in analysis paralysis. I kept thinking more information, let me look into these extra things that kept popping into my head. And before I knew it, I felt stuck. I didn't even have a clear vision of what I wanted to present anymore because I became so overwhelmed by all this information that I wanted to bring through that I felt paralyzed. I felt stuck. And that is the theme of Virgo season that we are getting into right now because Mercury is retrograde in Virgo. Now, for those who don't know, every planet is associated with a zodiac sign. So every zodiac sign has what's called a planetary ruler. Some zodiac signs share a planet. So Virgo and Gemini are both ruled by Mercury. Mercury is known as the winged messenger, named after a mythological god. And the theme of Mercury is thinking, communicating, where's our headspace at, how do we perceive the world around us, and also how do we perceive ourselves. So I'm going to give a general overview of the astrological weather as it is right now, and then I'm going to jump into a little bit of a horoscope for every zodiac sign. So we just finished up Leo season, and Leo season is a very positive, cheerful, let's shake off our stress, let's go have fun, live in the moment kind of vibe. And then when we move from Leo season to Virgo season, it's a lot like the vibe of waking up after a weekend of partying. It's just kind of this realization of all the work that we have to do, all the things that we've kind of left on the wayside as we went to just enjoy our lives. And it happens to coincide with the return to school, which is really interesting because Virgo is all about learning things, absorbing new information, but also noticing the details. So when Mercury is retrograde in Virgo, it has an effect of us overanalyzing and overthinking basically anything that's on our plate. So coming out of Leo season into Virgo season definitely felt like a light switch got flipped and we went from fun to not so fun. If you are feeling overwhelmed right now, if you're feeling stressed out right now, you're not alone. I just wanted to say that. And that's a big part of why I wanted to do this astrology update. I know it's been a while. There's been a lot of stuff happening, and I wanted to kind of sum things up in a way that helps you feel prepared moving forwards, especially because we've got a lot of retrograde planets right now. And that's going to continue through to the end of the year. But I have really, really good news, you guys. When we move into 2024, we are going to be beginning a brand new collective chapter. And one of the biggest things happening next year is that Pluto is going to be moving into Aquarius for good. Now, during this year, Pluto moved into Aquarius for a little bit, but then went into retrograde back into Capricorn. So we got a taste of what's to come when Pluto, representing power and control, but also our shadow sides, when it's been in Capricorn, there's been an energy of this is the status quo. If you don't like it, too bad. But when Pluto moved into Aquarius, for a little bit, we got a taste of a new way of thinking, a new way of being, and a new way of collectively organizing for the greater good. Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn energy really supported the old way of being, the old way of doing things, the old way of society, and all the mechanisms that go into how society works. And in a lot of ways, Pluto and Capricorn felt like coming up against a brick wall. There's no way around it, there's no way through it, and to get over it felt absolutely impossible. Whereas when Pluto moves into Aquarius for good, which, by the way, it takes Pluto 250 years to do one circle through the zodiac. So the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 250 years ago. And last time Pluto was in Aquarius, it was a time of reworking a lot of political systems. It was a way of bringing in the new, bringing in new attitudes of looking out for the little guy, advocating for social betterment, doing things for the greater good instead of Pluto and Capricorn, which is doing things that benefit only a small group of people. Pluto and Capricorn really had a vibe of the people who have money, the people who have, what's the word, privilege. We're kind of locked in and nobody else gets a piece of the pie. Whereas Pluto in Aquarius has a different vibe of, hey, let's make sure that we can use this metaphorical pie to serve everyone and make sure that everyone gets a fair share. So obviously these things take time to change, but I feel like we really can look forward to some positive improvements within ourselves, but also within society as a whole as we move into 2024. Here's the catch. Like I mentioned, we have a lot of retrograde planets right now. And this is kind of like the final year of college or the final year of high school and the final exams before we graduate, before we get to put everything that we've learned into practice. Right now, we have a lot of planets retrograde. We've got Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And what's going to happen is that they're all going to be retrograde, or at least most of them, through the end of the year. Now, Venus was the first one to go retrograde in July. And when it went retrograde, it wasn't immediately noticeable. For some people, especially if you're a Leo, because Venus went retrograde in Leo, for some people it was immediately noticeable, but for others, not necessarily so much. Now, a lot of us have come to associate Venus with love and relationships and things like that, which it is associated with. But the other part of Venus is money. It's comfort, it's material success, it's having our needs met, basic needs, but also emotional needs, mental, physical. So Venus being retrograde in Leo was the first kind of introduction of questions around whether or not we felt as though we had sovereignty in our own lives. And what I mean by that is the introduction of questions such as, is there room for me in this relationship or in this job? So any relationships over the past few weeks that have started to kind of fall apart, more often than not, you could trace that back to some sort of imbalance within the relationship where people's needs aren't getting met, or there isn't really space for one person in the relationship. Ideally, a relationship is a balanced collective entity of two individuals who come together to share any burdens that exist and multiply any joys that are potential or possible. But sometimes within a relationship, we don't have a healthy balance. And one person is kind of the star of the show, and the other person is more of a supporting actor. And in those situations, imbalance would have become intolerable and the relationship would have fallen apart. In the context of money, work, and that sort of thing, which is the other association of Venus, again, it would have been the same kind of thing. It would have brought up questions of, do I feel like I am able to be myself within the context of this job or this money-making opportunity? I'm going to pause for a second while my neighbor's dogs are barking, and hopefully they stop soon. An interesting dynamic that's going to happen as we move into September is Venus will come out of retrograde on September 3rd, but then on September 4th, Jupiter goes into retrograde. So what we've got here is intertwined themes of independence, freedom, but also support networks. And again, with the subtext of, is there room for me? Am I being honored? Am I being respected? Are my needs getting met? Now, a lot of times we might question ourselves. We might feel like maybe we're being selfish for asking questions like, am I getting enough out of this? But ultimately, we all need to ask those difficult questions, because that's how we find out whether or not something is worth our time. So every now and then, it does pay off to have a healthy level of selfish within our lives. So if Venus retrograde over the past couple of weeks has brought up questions in you where you feel stuck, where you feel disrespected, where you feel perhaps even drained of your life force, I want you to know that it is absolutely valid and important to be thinking about themes like that. I'm going to grab my piece of paper that fell. So I get so distracted by the dogs barking. I hope it's not bothering you. Venus retrograde was definitely bringing up a lot of questions in the context of me. Who am I? What is it that I want? And am I getting what I want? And Mercury retrograde kind of was like the straw that broke the camel's back. The addition of extra information that helps us seal the deal. And what I mean by that is we can experience feelings come up, but if we don't have a label for it or a name or a word for it, we might hesitate to make that final decision, because sometimes it's really hard to validate our feelings. When Venus was retrograde, it brought up all these intense feelings, but not necessarily a pathway to dealing with them, not necessarily knowing where an exit door is, or potentially a solution to make things better. If we didn't feel like we wanted to remove ourselves from the situation, it would have brought up feelings of, okay, how can I make this situation better? Now, Mercury went into retrograde just yesterday, and it's retrograde in Virgo. And whereas Leo carries themes of me, my confidence, my success, my individuality, Virgo asks, what is healthy? What is healthy? Where are my ideals? Where do I want to be? And what sort of plan is going to get me there? So Venus retrograde would have been an ethereal kind of feeling, whereas Mercury retrograde is bringing all of that into solid reality. So anything that you might have felt kind of indecisive about over the last couple of weeks is going to come into crystal clear clarity over the next couple of weeks. And anytime we have these retrograde planets, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to fall apart. It simply means that we're being given an opportunity to pause and reflect before moving on. We can't always have forward momentum. Even if you're on a road trip, eventually you got to stop the car. You got to maybe put in some gas. Maybe you need to use the bathroom. So for every journey, there's always going to be a point at which we pause, we reflect, we make sure that we are fully charged and ready to go for the next leg of the journey. And that's where we're at right now. That's what's happening for the collective. So if you feel really overwhelmed right now, I invite you to just pause and reflect. Don't necessarily make any major changes unless it's immediately necessary, because the other thing that's happening is that at the same time Mercury went retrograde yesterday, there was an energy of polarization created by Mars opposite Neptune. Mars represents action. And when we feel disgruntled or unhappy or uncomfortable or perhaps even stuck, the first thing we think is, what kind of action can I take to get out of this? But with Mars opposite Neptune the other day, it was a moment of realizing, wait a minute, I don't know. I don't know what action is going to make this better. I don't know what action, represented by Mars, is going to help me achieve my ideals, represented by Neptune. When any planets are opposite each other in the chart, there's a sense of, okay, my actions are over here, but where I want to be is way over here, and I have no idea how to get there. So if you too are stuck in analysis paralysis right now, again, you are not alone. Mars opposite Neptune and Mercury retrograde happened at the same time. And the other thing that happened at the exact same time was the moon was in Scorpio and it was opposite Uranus in Taurus. And that brought an energy of emotional volatility. And sometimes when we are so full up of feelings of being unhappy, disgruntled, feeling stuck, any of those things, And especially in the context of not knowing where to go with that or what to do with it, sometimes our emotions just explode. And so there's a very high potential that maybe over the last couple of days you said things that you regret. And in which case, make sure to apologize as soon as possible, because Mercury retrograde in Virgo is going to have you thinking about that until you do something about it. And sometimes just a simple apology is the best thing you can do. You know what? I don't know what came over me. My feelings just spilled out, but that was definitely not the message I wanted to convey, or whatever your personal experience might be. As I mentioned, we're going to have a lot of retrograde planets for the next few months as we close out the year. Saturn is going to be retrograde. It has been since June, and it's going to be retrograde all the way until November. Neptune is retrograde, and it's going to be retrograde until December. And Pluto has been retrograde. It's going to be retrograde until October. So basically, for the next few months, we have basically a forced opportunity to pause, reflect, and recharge ourselves before the next leg of the journey. But like I said, 2024 is going to be incredible. We've got a lot of things opening up. We've got a lot of challenging influences that happened over the last couple of years. They're going to fade into the background, and we're going to have new opportunities to apply ourselves, to make our lives better. But our lives are not going to get better if we repeat the same mistakes. And so that's why this period of pausing and reflecting is so important. One of the things that I wrote down is that October 14th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse, and it's going to be in, the sun is going to be in Libra, but the moon's going to be in Aries. And it's going to be one of the first eclipses on this new Libra Aries axis. And I'm so sorry about my neighbor's dogs. The reason I bring this up is because lots of times there's a lot of tension, but also a lot of learning opportunities as we approach the eclipses. And then what the eclipses give us are an opportunity to make sweeping changes that are far more effective than any other time, any other potential within the year. Often it feels like we just keep hitting these brick walls where we don't know how to overcome our obstacles, and then all of a sudden we get an eclipse and boom, it's like the obstacle was evaporated. Now, I don't necessarily mean all of your problems are going to disappear, but it does represent a point in time in which all of a sudden an exit door is made available, or a solution becomes clear or tangible. So that's what we have to look forward to. Definitely use this time wisely. Now, with Mercury being retrograde in Virgo, the general theme for the collective is going to be rethinking our health, our wellness, our daily habits, and what kind of patterns we might actually be stuck in. Any ruts, if we're stuck in a rut, if it's a mental loop we keep getting stuck in, anything, especially in the context of our daily lives. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the energy of Mercury retrograde in Virgo is analysis paralysis, seeking as much information as possible so that we can make the most educated decision possible. But in doing so, sometimes getting so much information, we feel less prepared to make a decision because it's like, oh my God, now I really don't know. In which case, I want to offer you a solution. The best thing to do in those situations is take some time by yourself. Virgo is associated with the tarot card, the Hermit. Definitely a great time to seclude yourself in a healthy way. Just take a step back so that you have the opportunity to reflect on your own. And then the second piece of advice I have is keep it simple. If you find that you have too much information, try and narrow things down to what are the core themes happening, or what are my core needs that I'm kind of tripping up over, either needs that are not being met or needs that we're trying to make sure that get met. So as much as you can, simplify, simplify, simplify. With Mars being opposite Neptune, yeah, a lot of us are feeling like where we're at is super far away from where we want to be, but don't let the distance between you and your goals cause you to abandon ship. Every journey, even the longest journey, all starts with one step at a time. And that's the message of Virgo, with the whole health and wellness, especially implemented on a daily basis, is that we can make sweeping changes in our lives by changing small habits on a daily basis. Making small changes can actually lead to big changes when implemented over time with consistency and with patience. The emotional volatility right now, definitely a thing, but over the next couple of days, that should kind of peter out. We just had a new moon in Virgo, and definitely the energy right now is, I want something new that feels healthy. The catch where we might find ourselves stuck is wanting perfection, because Virgo has such an incredible eye for detail that we may look at the perfect life or the perfect job or the perfect relationship and go, I want that, and completely disregard how much we already have in this moment. So when it comes to feeling miles away from where you want to be, make sure that your goals are realistic. Make sure that your goals are attainable. And if it feels like your goals are really, really high and you're way down here, then you can't expect to just leap into that reality. We have to start with baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Break it down into small, manageable steps so that you can get where you want to be without feeling overwhelmed and without quitting. The other thing too is that the energy of the astrology right now, I did a chart for where we're at right now. I know this isn't going to mean very much to those who don't read charts, but this was me gathering up as much information as possible. And what I noticed about the collective energy right now is that the chart for right now is fixed Earth dominant. So that means most of the planets right now are in Earth signs, and most of the planets right now are in fixed signs. So the collective energy right now is definitely feeling stuck, feeling like change is going to be really, really hard, and potentially even not even trying because the journey just feels so hard. So like I said, baby steps will get you to where you want to be. What changes as of the next eclipse that I was mentioning in the middle of October is that the collective energy is going to be cardinal Earth, which means there's going to be a grounded energy of new beginnings. More and more, how do I phrase this? Things are going to feel more possible, more attainable as we get into October than they are right now. And I personally find that knowing these things is really, really helpful, because if the energy of a moment makes me feel like giving up, but if I know that down the road the energy is going to be full of potential, then instead of giving up right now, I might say, you know what, let's just put pause on this, and I'm going to revisit this when I feel like it's more tangible or more possible. So again, if something feels totally insurmountable right now, consider putting that idea or that project or that decision on pause while you gather up the energy, you gather up the strength and the focus, and then the potential will open up a little bit down the road. We have two eclipses in October. One of them is October 14th. The other one is October 28th. As I mentioned, October 14th is going to be full of potential. But if we are still dragging our feet, if we are still repeating the same mistakes, by October 28th, we're going to feel locked in again. So it is going to be a brief moment of opportunity in the first couple of weeks of October. But if we lock into unhealthy ways of living or unhealthy habits, it's going to be a lot harder to make those changes in the second half of October. So just kind of remember that for later. Like I was also saying, Virgo is the energy of the hermit. If you feel like withdrawing, if you feel less social, if you feel like you want to just kind of take a step back from society and collect yourself right now, do it. This is a great opportunity to pay extra attention or just practice noticing, how do I feel in my workplace? How do I feel around my friends? How do I feel around my partner or my family? And just start noticing how you feel, because the tendency is going to be to overthink. And Sometimes we feel stuck when we're overthinking, and the best thing to do is simplify, 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 come back to the basics and ask yourself, how do I feel? And maybe just leave it at that. This is also an opportunity to reflect on your inner versus your outer energy. With Venus retrograde, there's going to be a great deal of clarity coming through for all of us in the context of, am I a different person on the outside than I am on the inside? Do I hide my true nature? Do I hide my true thoughts and my true feelings to present a happy version on the outside? And if you find with reflection that the outer version of you is miles away from the inner version of you, that's going to be an open door through which you can find some healthy changes. Because feeling like you have to put on a mask or feeling like you have to be on within certain things, relationships, jobs, whatever, leads to exhaustion, and it's not sustainable. So if you are working really, really hard to keep up outer appearances at the expense of your inner health, that's not going to be sustainable, and that's definitely something to work on changing. Previous patterns within relationships are going to be extremely obvious right now with Venus retrograde. If there are patterns of interacting, if there's imbalance, if there's precedent that has been set that is not necessarily healthy or doesn't necessarily hold space for you to be your unique self, again, that's going to be intolerable, and it's going to be a point at which you decide to make some changes. And the final thing I have to say for the collective astrology is that Pluto, as it finishes up its journey through Capricorn, is bringing us an opportunity. And that opportunity comes in the form of doing shadow work. Lots of times we don't want to listen to the yuck inside. Lots of times negative feelings might come up or negative thoughts come up. And that could go one of two ways. We could go, la, 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 don't want to think about it. Or we could get lost in that darkness. But the gift is to say, hey, I acknowledge this darkness. What can I do about it? So if a lot of shadow stuff is coming up for you right now, try not to run from it. Try to create safe space in which you can heal from it by listening, by awakening, and by holding it in your hands, holding it in your heart and saying, I care about how I feel, I care about what I think, and I'm going to put my needs at as much of a high priority as possible, because I guarantee you, when you prioritize your needs, everything in your life is going to be healthier, because it's a matter of making sure that we take care of ourselves, because ultimately we are the best to know how to take care of ourselves. So if our needs aren't being met in relationships, those relationships are going to fail unless we're able to communicate that and work together with our partners to rectify that. If we find that we express our needs and maybe a partner doesn't care or an employer doesn't care, that's going to be us having an opportunity to say, you know what, if you don't care about my needs, I'm going to have to walk away right now. So lots and lots of changes, lots and lots of potentially uncomfortable learning opportunities coming up over the next couple of months. But I do promise that by next year, it's going to be a whole new ball game. So as much as you can, prepare, fill up your metaphorical gas tank, recharge your batteries, because some fun stuff is just around the corner, you guys. So I'm going to get into the individual horoscopes for right now, and what we're looking at is how Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, Mars opposite Neptune, and Pluto's shadow gift are influencing you and your future. So we're going to start with Aries. And for you guys, Aries, this is for Aries Sun and Aries Rising. Venus is retrograde in your 5th house, helping you prioritize fun and joy. If you have children, you're going to be way more motivated to hang out with your children and play with your children. If you don't have children, your inner child is going to have an opportunity to be more silly, be more joyful. And it might be an uncomfortable time for you, Aries, if you're realizing that your inner child has been neglected or maybe you've been neglecting your children because of work, because of busyness and that sort of thing. For you, Aries, Venus retrograde is actually super helpful. It is in a fellow fire sign, so there's a sense of creativity, harmony, all these opportunities coming through. It's less of a traumatic thing for you. It's just about reprioritizing fun and joy in your life in whatever form it needs to come through. Now, Mercury retrograde for you, Aries, is in your 6th house, and it's actually creating an uncomfortable angle. You might be ghosting people that are exhausting you right now. You might be taking a step back in your daily and your personal life just to recharge your batteries and put yourself first. And the uncomfortableness might come from realizations of, hey, I'm not really that healthy right now, or hey, my headspace is not a safe space right now. So any sense of discomfort that's coming up for you right now during Mercury retrograde is all pointing you in the direction of how to be a healthier individual. So don't cut corners when it comes to your health. If you're starting to notice that maybe some bad habits are really just kind of irking you right now, take this time to change those habits into healthy ones. You don't have to join a gym or anything like that, but you could find ways to exercise or be a healthier individual right in the comfort of your home. Again, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be anything grand. It's just about making small changes that lead to a healthier life moving forwards. Mars opposite Neptune for you guys, Aries, is creating a dynamic of looking at your health in the context of daily life and comparing it to where you can see that you want your headspace to be. Maybe you've got dreams for the future. Maybe you've got goals that you want to achieve. And definitely there's a realization of, if I want to achieve these grand goals down the road, I have to start saving now. I have to start making healthier choices now. And so everything is coming down to, what can I do today to pave a healthier future moving forwards? The shadow gift offered to you by Pluto is an opportunity to really acknowledge the inner pain that perhaps you've been going la 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 about, in a way that really leaves it in the past for good. So whether that for you has to do with maybe closing the door on some relationships, or just being a lot more careful about how you share your energy and your time, for you it's going to be an opportunity to say, hey, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I want to embrace a healthy future, and I'm going to put all of my energy into doing so. So good luck, Aries. Taurus. The energy for you guys right now, Taurus sun and rising, is grounding. It's getting centered. It's getting back to the basics. You might have had a tower moment recently. You might have really kind of thrown a bomb into anything that was not working out for your highest good, whether it's relationships, career, friendships, anything at all. Because there's a lot of energy around your 4th and 5th houses. So it's bringing into question your emotional health, perhaps even your actual home, where it is you go to recharge at the end of the day, and whether or not that feels like a safe space, or whether or not it feels like a nurturing, cup refilling kind of space. And it's all going to be in the context of self-preservation. Whether it's enforcing boundaries, whether it is simply creating more opportunities for you to be alone or recharge your batteries, there's going to be a sense of, I can't do this drama anymore. I need to come back to a peaceful space. And so you might be throwing the tower card in every direction right now, which, if it needs to happen, it needs to happen. But definitely there's an energy of don't go too far overboard, blowing up your life, when sometimes small changes might do. Of course, sometimes big changes are exactly what needs to happen, but it feels as though there's a lot of challenges for you having to do with ensuring your emotional health, and so whatever way you need to make those changes, trust your gut. There's an energy of maybe even being worried what other people are going to think. It doesn't matter what other people think. It matters what you think. Neptune opposite Mars right now, it definitely has an energy of changing relationships, changing who you are in the context of society, who you are in the context of personal relationships, and kind of putting the final touches on a personal journey that you've been on for quite some time, all having to do with personal sovereignty and personal identity. The shadow gift being offered to you by Pluto right now is the opportunity to make some incredibly sweeping changes in your life. Because you typically like things to stay the same, a lot of this might feel deeply uncomfortable. But anytime you, dear Taurus, gets it in mind that you want to make sweeping changes, it's because you have felt uncomfortable for quite some time. So when you finally get to the point where you're like, I'm ready, oh, you're ready. So again, just trust your gut, go with the flow, and just make sure that everything you do is done in as an honorable way as you possibly can. But again, still preserving your identity and still preserving your right to claim your space. Gemini, the Venus retrograde energy is bringing almost like a call back to home, kind of helping you feel a little bit nostalgic right now, thinking about who matters the most to you, and maybe even reflecting on which friends or which close people in your lives have stuck around the longest. And again, just this nostalgic, almost wistful energy. You might be looking into the past like, oh, the best times are in the past, and kind of living in your memories. But it's really important to bring yourself back to center, here now, and think, how can I continue creating new memories? It's going to be different, but there's still opportunities to create new memories. It doesn't mean all the good times have passed. There's still plenty of potential moving forwards. So it's an energy of recharging your batteries, getting back to basics, and also reformulating a plan for moving forwards that helps you cultivate this self-love that you've recently achieved. There's been a lot of shifts in your inner circle as well as your outer circle in the greater context of society, and it's taken you a long time to get to a place where you've been able to let go of ways that you've been wounded, or ways that you've been slighted, or maybe reflecting on missed opportunities, or, like I said, good memories in the past, and this feeling of, am I going to ever create good memories again? Yes, 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 you are. But you're in this kind of weird in-between zone where Mars is opposite Neptune for you, is creating a polarization of wanting to preserve your emotional health, but really needing to make money and really needing to have some concrete goals for the future. So you might feel kind of pulled in two different directions. And the advice for you is, if something doesn't feel right, keep looking. You don't have to compromise everything that you've just learned to make a future for yourself. You can integrate everything you've learned into your future. Pluto is offering a shadow opportunity for you in the form of inviting you to create your own reality. Write down on a piece of paper what it is that you're hoping to manifest, and write it like a thank you note, as if it's already happened. Be crystal clear about what you're hoping for, with as many details as possible, and then create even maybe a ceremony in which you read your thank you note aloud and you burn it. Invite magic into your life. It feels like in a lot of ways that you're feeling really weighed down by the practicalities and the realities of life. And so the shadow gift for you is invoke some magic. Call on your higher power. Call on your personal power, whatever it takes, but don't forget about magic, because it's real. As the crows sing. Cancer, sun and rising. Really cool energy for you guys. Of all signs, hi. of all signs, really feeling positive with your zodiac sign. So Cancer, Sun, and Rising, this is a time of manifestation. This is a time of calling in resources, calling in money, calling in all that you've been asking for with less, how do I put this, less obstacles created by any perceptions of worthiness. You've done so much work recently to be a more emotionally healthy person. And so previously, there could have been blockages for your manifestations because maybe you didn't believe you were worthy. Maybe you didn't believe you were lovable. Whatever you were personally struggling with as far as self-limiting beliefs, those have now kind of faded into the background, maybe not necessarily completely gone, but definitely less overwhelming. And there's an energy of moving forwards with less self-limiting beliefs, allowing you to manifest money, resources, opportunities with far less trouble. So really cool energy for you guys, Cancer, calling money in, calling opportunities in. And Mercury retrograde is actually bringing you lots of creative inspiration. You might find that your intuition is tuned way up high right now. So intuition, inspiration, new ideas. The challenge for you might be just creating that time and that space to be creative. So if you can, jot ideas down. If you don't have time to act on them right now, jot them down for later so that you don't forget. Neptune is helping you get a clearer vision of where you want to be. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed as far as thinking, oh my God, that's so far away from where I am right now. But there's more hope. There's more of an opportunistic kind of, hey, you know what, maybe I could make that happen kind of vibe. Whereas, like I was saying before, recently you guys were really challenged by self-limiting beliefs, or perhaps just a harsh reality that you could do literally nothing of or nothing about. It really felt recently like you were moving through a period of feeling powerless. And now you're moving into a period of feeling empowered and feeling electrified by this realization that you're empowered. It's going to get better and better moving forwards. And the shadow gift for you, brought to you by Pluto, is an opportunity to spoil yourself. Typically, when you get into a good place emotionally or financially, one of your first thoughts is, how can I shower this love and abundance on the people that I love? Well, this time, when you get into a place of feeling emotionally or financially abundant, maybe take the opportunity to shower yourself with that love. Pholus retrograde is giving you an opportunity to embrace self-love. And maybe even think about it like, you know, on an airplane when they give those safety announcements, they say, put the oxygen mask on yourself before helping someone else. Take that to heart. Fill your tank first. Fill your heart first. It's really going to change your perspective of your life and your interactions and make you feel a whole lot better about where you're going. Leo, Sun and Rising, with Venus retrograde in your sign, it has been quite possibly very, very challenging or very, very rejuvenating. The message that Venus retrograde has been bringing you guys since it's been in your sign is self-love first. Just as I was saying to Cancer, if you're on an airplane and they give the safety announcements, they say put your oxygen mask on yourself first before trying to help other people. And that goes for love as well. You Leos love to love, and you love to give and receive love, but often the desire to give and receive love comes at the cost of loving yourself first. You go looking out in the world for somebody to love you, whereas Venus retrograde is saying, wait a minute, darling, love yourself first, and then you're not going to have such heavy expectations for the people in your lives. The other aspect of Venus being retrograde in your sign is that you might be rethinking who you are in the context of making money and acquiring resources in your life. You may be rethinking a career because you just don't feel like it's a fit for your personality anymore. In fact, Pluto's shadow gift for you is in the form of some sort of career change, either willing or unwilling. There's new pressure on you to either make money, being pressured from the outside, maybe bills or expenses are starting to pile up, or the pressure could come from inside as you think, hey, I feel really good about myself, I can do better, I can make more money. And that could possibly take the form of wanting to really put yourself out there in a leadership position, or maybe self-employment, or anything along those lines. But it's a beautiful combination of loving yourself, feeling more confident, and inviting in abundance and prosperity into your life. The more you feel comfortable with who you are as a person, the more you're going to feel comfortable with everything else that's happening in your life. So this is a time to go within as much as possible and find the answers within as well. The polarization of Mars and Neptune right now is definitely bringing to mind questions of income versus expenses. Maybe you feel like you're doing better now than you have in a while, but your expenses have increased, your debt has increased. And so all in all, you don't feel like you're doing better anymore. So make sure to look backwards and acknowledge any of the ways that you are doing better, just in case you're kind of losing sight of those details. Money has a way of stressing us out like nothing else in this world. So another helpful thing might be to write about your stress for, say, 20 minutes. Set a timer and write out all of your stress. And then when the timer's done, put away the notes and get on with your day. And then that way you're not going to be spinning throughout your entire day. This is definitely an opportunity for you to rework your approach in the context of how you make money, but also how you feel about what it is that you do to make money. So again, a career change or career shift might already be in the works, or it might be something that you're about to embark on. Virgo sun and rising. This is a time of wondering. This is a time of contemplation and quite possibly chosen seclusion. You're feeling more and more and more like you just can't deal with all the things. Be it stress, be it family members, maybe it's partners, maybe it's work. There's an energy of you just wanting to shut out the world. So do it. Do it as much as possible, of course, within reason. If you're feeling overwhelmed, take a step back and recharge your batteries. Venus retrograde is bringing in not just wondering, but also a twinge of loneliness. Virgos are typically quite happy on their own, love their own company, but Venus retrograde is possibly bringing in questions of maybe I'm more lonely than I want to be, and these things are worth listening to. You might also be asking, because Mercury is retrograde in your sign right now, you might also be asking yourself, who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? And in the context of the future, do I want to do any of those things with someone or for someone? So a whole lot of foggy confusion right now for you poor Virgos. So please be gentle with yourselves. Don't feel like you have to make any major decisions right now. Just recharge your batteries and give yourself enough space throughout the day to allow the answers to come through. And again, maybe just like the advice I gave for Leos, if you find that your head is spinning all the time, it might help to set a timer for 20 minutes, write down all of the things that you're stressed out about, and then when the timer goes off, put that list away and get on with your day. And if your brain starts spinning again, be like, nope, we already wrote everything down, we're gonna focus on something else now. So give yourself permission not to think so hard. Pluto is offering you a shadow gift of recognizing how far you've come. You have completed one hell of a chapter. It could be years long, it could be decades long, maybe just months, but it feels significant. It feels really significant. And what you've gained, even if it feels like your life is maybe the same, maybe you can tell that there's differences in your life, but the biggest gift you've been given is wisdom and equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to balance the head and the heart and find a happy medium. And the beginning of Mercury retrograde is going to make you feel really not balanced, but as Mercury retrograde, you know, gets some solid momentum going, you're going to be able to kind of make peace with where you're at and see the gift of wisdom that you have. A new direction is opening up for you. It's going to take confidence. It's going to take an aspect of believing in yourself. But darling, you've got the skills to pay the bills. Anything you feel like taking on right now, you're going to have a supercharged opportunity. So if it feels good, do it. And if it doesn't feel good, then take a step back and reassess your idea. Libra, sun and rising. This is a time of imagining and being creative, and you might feel a bit limited by the options available to you, but for the most part, some sort of new opportunity or new opening is helping you feel like, hey, wait a minute, life can be more than what I've experienced so far. There's some sort of hope coming in, but because Mercury is retrograde in your 12th house, it might feel like a step backwards before you get that step forwards. You're having to weigh out your dreams and your ideals in the face of a little bit of disillusionment, and maybe even questioning whether or not you're on the right path. But it's a foggy, all-encompassing, am I on the right path? You might have issues with friends, you might have issues with your career. It's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, but it's this general sense of almost discontent that is helping you let go of where you're at in order to bring in some sort of new opportunity. So the energy for you guys, Libras, is sticking with what you already know is just going to give you more of what you already know. And if you're feeling that energy of discontent, try something new just for fun and see how it shakes up your life, because that's the opening happening for you. Something new is going to lead you like breadcrumbs to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. The shadow gift offered to you by Pluto right now is take care of yourself. Ground out, parent yourself, nurture yourself, give yourself all the love in the whole wide world, recharge your batteries, and give yourself permission to just throw yourself in a new direction, even though you might want to overanalyze it and overthink it right now. Your feelings are going to tell you, why not? So maybe just suspend your disbelief for a little bit and grab hold of a new opportunity and just see where it takes you, because it might be the path that you've been looking for the whole time. Scorpio, sun and rising. There's an energy right now with Venus retrograde that is almost making you kind of question everything. Maybe you're reassessing your financial goals. Maybe you're reassessing your career goals. Maybe you're thinking about moving. There's a focus on long-term goals for you in the context of whether or not goals you set a while ago still feel comfortable or not. And as you kind of reflect and reassess, it's not a negative vibe. It's, what if I want to add more? What if I want to tweak it and make it just a little bit better? I don't feel so much of an energy for you guys of questioning everything in a negative way. It's more like questioning everything in a, what might have I missed? What else should I add to my bucket list? What else would I like to do for fun, for joy, for creativity, to connect with my friends, to get out there in the world? So that's what's coming through for you guys. It's also bringing up questions of whether or not your work or your career or your path moving forwards feels meaningful. And meaningful in the context of, you guys are being awfully loud. Excuse me, please. Yeah. Questioning personal meaning and especially questioning personal meaning in the context of being helpful to the greater good, to maybe the disadvantaged, and also thinking about channeling your God-given gifts in this lifetime. Perhaps you're wondering if you have been on the right path with your soul's mission. More ethereal concepts like that. So I don't feel you necessarily wanting to release a whole bunch of stuff. For you, it's more about opening up and welcoming new things. And the shadow gift offered to you by Pluto right now is inviting you to potentially share your heart, share your thoughts, share your feelings with those who are closest to you. You're typically so very private, but there's an opportunity opening up for you where if you talk about what's happening, if you talk about how you're feeling or what you're thinking, you might actually open the door to receiving some advice or some guidance or some inspiration that's like the key that unlocks the magical chest. So even though you're typically private, you are being invited to share your inner thoughts and feelings in safe company because there's some sort of gift available there. Sagittarius, sun and rising. For you guys, there's a little bit of defeated, vision limited kind of energy where, like Scorpio, you're sort of questioning everything, but with a much more negative tone. When things don't work out in our lives, often we question ourselves as an individual. Am I at fault? Am I to blame? Am I not good enough? So please make sure not to let your thoughts take you down a destructive or self-deprecating kind of path, because ultimately that's not going to be for your highest good. What I wrote down for you guys is vision limited. Your ability to see the next best steps, it's like there's fog in the road and your headlights aren't working. There's a sense that the direction you thought you were going in, the path is becoming unclear and you're starting to wonder, am I even on the right path anymore? Where's my roadmap kind of vibe? Your long-term goals are shifting, and you're in a state of transition where it's going to take a little bit of time to get some positive momentum rolling. A really good idea for you is, instead of continuing to throw yourself in the same direction if you keep hitting a brick wall, is see if you can go around it, see if you can go under it, see if you can take a completely different route. Anything you can do to stay creative, stay hopeful, multitask, look in new directions for inspiration or for opportunities, but try not to get too stuck on the one thing that's not working out, because there are a lot of other opportunities, but like I said, it's going to take a little while for you to shift your momentum. It's very challenging for you right now to keep your emotional health in check. Maybe on the outside you're like, I'm fine, it's cool, whatever, because you don't like dwelling in negative feelings, but right now you're full up of negative feelings, and if you just stuff them, it could lead to disease or imbalance of some sort. So definitely anything you can do to get these yucky feelings off of your chest, if it's singing, drawing, talking, dancing, maybe playing really loud music and shaking yourself around. There's an element of needing to purge all the disappointment, all the heartache, all the frustration, because you're all full up. It needs to come out. The shadow gift for you guys is manifestation. As clearly as you possibly can, write out a recipe of where you'd like to be. Imagine your ideal life within reason. I mean, my ideal life would be millions of dollars, right? Within reason. So within reason, write out a recipe for where you want to be. Write out a roadmap for where you want to be. And try as much as you can to focus on what it would feel like to be there. So writing out things like seeing yourself, and write it as if it's already happened. I am in a career in which I am appreciated, valued for my time and expertise, paid really well, and I'm doing what I love, and name what it is that you'd like to do that you love. Or within relationships, same kind of thing. Write out a recipe like as if it's already happened, like a thank you note. But again, try and focus on feelings, what it would feel like to be there. And then every day read it to yourself. I am happy, I am successful, I am well paid and valued for my time and expertise. When we feel lost, when our vision is limited, sometimes it's really hard for us to have a clear idea of where we want to be, but that's your shadow gift. That's your opportunity right now. Manifest from a place of vision combined with feeling, and it will give you a clear idea of a direction that you want to put yourself into. And it's also a tool of manifestation. But you definitely have an opportunity to manifest, but it needs to come from a place of self-love and believing that you're worthy and believing that you're capable. So be your own best cheerleader. Things will turn around. It's just a time of shifting for you. Aquarius, sun and rising. Relationships are in the focus right now, with Venus being retrograde opposite your sign. And you may find yourself comparing yourself either to people that are in relationships. If you're not in one right now, you might be looking at people in relationships going, oh my God, they're so happy, why am I not happy? Or if you're in a relationship, you might be comparing your partnership to other people's and going, oh, I really don't like my partner, but look at how happy they are over there. Remember that comparison is the thief of joy. However, the longings of our heart point us in the direction of unmet needs. If you have unmet needs, they are becoming absolutely intolerable right now, but that gives you an opportunity to do something about it. So just make sure that you're not idealizing somebody's happy pictures on Facebook or Instagram, because that's all fake. People don't post pictures of when they argue with their partners. So any illusions that you're seeing right now that might look like the perfect relationship, just remember there's a whole lot more than meets the eye. But that doesn't take away from any feelings that you have right now that are valid in regards to your needs not being met. Take it as an opportunity to take control. It might be really, really obvious right now to you that there have been certain patterns repeating either in your current relationship or relationships in the past. And again, these patterns are going to be at the point where you just can't unsee them. All these things are going to be like right in front of your face. And if life is showing you something right in front of your face, odds are it's because life has tried to show you before and you went la 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 la. So don't do that again. This is like final exams period. This is like the final, not final, I mean we always have opportunities, but this is an incredible opportunity for you to really, really, really shift your fate in a positive direction, in a direction that you're really happy about. So anything you can do to empower yourself and to break any unhealthy patterns and begin new healthy patterns is going to be some of the best choices you've ever made in your whole life. You might be thinking about shared resources, shared finances, or a sense that you're intertwined with someone and you might not feel very good about being intertwined with someone. And when you think about detangling from someone, there might be such a history that it potentially even feels impossible. Well, not much is actually impossible. Often we are the ones that get in our own ways by just deciding it's not possible. So the energy for you, dear Aquarius, is empower yourself to create healthy relationships in your life. And again, if you're single, it's about envisioning where you'd like to be. If you're in a couple right now and you're not super excited about it, this is the time to either make changes or say adios. Patterns are becoming intolerable. They might feel unmovable. You might be questioning everything, and you might not be very stoked on reality right now. So please give yourself a big hug. Please fill your own cup. Do whatever you can to ask yourself, ask your heart, what do I need to feel better right now? And then you do it to take care of yourself. Buy yourself flowers. Whatever you can do to spoil yourself, because you need to remember that you're worth it, and you have an inalienable right to be healthy and happy. And you can't place your happiness in the hands of other people. That needs to be your responsibility. So if you find that you're pointing outwards and saying, well, this person's making me unhappy, or this is making me unhappy, you have two choices, three. First choice is you could do nothing about it and keep complaining. Second choice is that you could make changes. Or third choice is you could walk away. But you always have a choice. The shadow gift offered to you right now by Pluto is an opportunity to think about when and where you share your love, share your time, share your affection, and whether or not that is received well and whether or not it's reciprocated. And if you've gone a very long time pouring out your love and getting barely anything in return, I could see for you this being the moment where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore, and making some sweeping changes in your life. Sorry about my neighbor's dogs. We'll just wait a minute. It is time for you to love yourself in a way that maybe no other human being has. And if that means cutting off ties, if that means pulling back from trying so hard, do it. You need to look after yourself first, and that's where you're going to find an open path moving forwards. Good luck. And Pisces, sun and rising. Venus is retrograde in your 6th house right now, carrying a couple of different themes. You might be rethinking your diet. You might be rethinking any form of healthy habits or healthy goals. And the other way that Venus retrograde might be affecting you right now is that work might feel really slow. Especially if you're self-employed, it might feel like things have gotten really quiet lately. It's not a reflection of you or your self-worth or your business. It's just a quiet point of the year. Things will pick back up again. And once Venus comes out of retrograde in the beginning of September, you're going to find that work starts coming back like tenfold. So take the opportunity right now to develop any healthy habits as far as your daily routines, as far as how you approach your work day and things like that. Now is the time to shore up those healthy habits, because in just a couple of weeks' time, you're going to have so much work that you're really going to want to have these practices in place, especially when it comes to following up on emails or communication, topics like scheduling, and also budgeting. Budgeting is going to be a thing that you're really going to want to put into place, just especially since you have some time to reflect, thinking about perhaps either saving for the future or having some sort of emergency fund set aside. Mercury is retrograde in your 7th house, causing you to potentially be less social than you usually are. But that's okay. Everybody's allowed to withdraw from society every now and then. But you might also be rethinking the context of your relationships and whether or not those relationships are helping support the healthiest version of you. So any relationships that are not healthy right now are going to be completely intolerable. But I don't really feel you being the type of person to just like, whoops, slam a door closed. I feel you kind of just withdrawing. But if somebody wants an explanation, make sure to at least tune in with them. You don't have to tell them everything, but maybe just kind of touching base and saying, you know, oh, sorry, I didn't have time to respond, or hey, I'd rather not participate in this group anymore, whatever it looks like to you. When we have a focus on having healthy relationships, even if we decide that a certain relationship isn't healthy and maybe we don't want to be a part of it anymore, if we take an exit that is not a healthy expression of who we are, then you're going to be thinking about it afterwards and maybe even circling back to it later, especially in September. As you reflect on how you behaved in the context of that situation. I hope that makes sense. The key thing here is that you are incredibly focused right now on being the best version of you that you can be. And In a lot of ways, that means creating some healthier boundaries around yourself and your life, protecting your energy, protecting your peace. Could take a lot of different forms. So trust that any way in which you potentially feel uncomfortable, that's valid, and you have every right to create distance from anything or anyone that makes you feel uncomfortable or just not the high vibration that you're going for. But again, any boundaries that you need to set, please do so with honor and dignity, because otherwise it's going to come around to bite you a little bit later on. The shadow gift for you guys from Pluto is activating your 11th house and activating your ideals. So introducing, maybe your dreams are just extra vivid right now. Maybe you're feeling just this flood of inspiration and ideas and goals for the future. This is an opportunity for you to really channel some serious creative ideas. And if you don't have time to act on them right now, definitely write them down, because you're going to have an opportunity to act on them later. But this channel that's existing for you right now won't necessarily always be this open. So don't take it for granted. If you're having wild dreams, prophetic dreams, maybe you're feeling extra intuitive lately, definitely, make hay while the sun shines. Take this opportunity while it lasts, because it might not be this strong or this easy later on. But really cool stuff. Definitely you guys are seeing yourselves more and more as capable, and that is incredible food for success moving forwards. So congratulations, you guys. I know it took you a lot to get there. Be proud of yourself. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. If you have any questions, any feedback, any ideas for videos in the future, please by all means comment below or send me a private message. And if you would like to book a private reading with me, either an astrology consultation or a psychic reading, you can do so from anywhere in the world. My website is www.queenbeetarot.net. Queen Bee Tarot is all one word. So www.queenbeetarot.net. I have online booking, I have tons of free resources, and I also teach tarot if you've ever wanted to learn. So definitely go check out my website. I love you guys. Mwah! And I'll see you in my next video. Take care.